Haven't done one of these kind of random ones in a while. So I wanted to talk about glitz and flash because a lot, a lot of what I see in modern life is made up of that, and has been for, I don't know, pretty much not since I was a child, maybe, but since the early '80s at the very least. So what got me started about thinking about this were certain rule books that I would open up, and they'd be multicolored or in distracting fashions, and they reminded me of, there was a point sometime, I don't know when it started, late '80s, early '90s, where magazines stopped having nice columns and started having these kind of, I don't know, more distracting insets and this, that, and the other. And it had started before that, but it just got worse and worse, and things like USA Today clearly were a major, major force towards making that very popular. And I was also thinking about, some people's reviews or gaming videos or whatever seem like they're more aligned towards, hey, let's put some pretty cartoons in and this, that, and the other. And here I am trying to get an idea of this game, and there's just all this random crap in there that I can't get that idea from. So I guess that's, I'm more interested in it from the gaming point of view, but I'm very disturbed overall throughout. I mean, magazines you open up and they're filled with fluff, get you the headline, and make you look at a picture, and, that goes back a long ways. Look was that way in its own way. So, I don't know if it's entirely a modern thing, but it seems to have caught on more again, or become more important now, to be able to give a nice package rather than maybe say the most important things. If you look at news shows, local news gets high ratings and it's absolute garbage. But the national news shows, it's the shock factor, or the keep you hooked and make you want to keep watching this because it's more entertainment than really news. And people have turned away from more, I think more thoughtful, but certainly more staid and conservative presentations of the news. Newspapers dying out for this reason, because they have to compete with kind of the tabloid side of things, or they have to deal with the television news, which can, of course, is a richer media, so it can produce more of this zing factor. Whereas, really, really in-depth, carefully considered, even television news, if you look at the PBS NewsHour, it gets only a slice, a tiny fraction of the interest that the sort of hyped entertainment news gets. And especially with the local, you want all that little banter going on. I mean, anyway. It disturbs me when everything's expected to be packaged in such a way. I don't mind. I mean, there are certain things that are fantastic. So, for example, on the interwebs, it's great that I have control over what I want. So I can go and I can grab the video that I want and grab the news clip that I want to see, and I don't have to, that's a fantastic advance. That's kind of like the newspaper, where I can flip through and find the piece of news I want to have, instead of the prepackaged bit that fits in your 30-minute newscast that you think I do really want to see, even if it's, about whatever star gave a crotch shot and got caught shoplifting or whatever. But yeah, I mean, with game reviews, I'm looking and I'm seeing the same kind of flavoring. And I see a few people who I think are doing excellent jobs, far better than I am, in part because they want to produce a review. My reviews have been kind of, people said, oh wow, I really like your in-depth analysis or whatever. Can you make that a separate part? Or can you do more of that? And I'm kind of like, well, I don't know, I kind of say what I have to say while I'm doing it. And having that afterwards, I can understand where that's of value to people who want to distill that. And I look at my numbers on my viewings and I see, oh wow, I get maybe, on an unpopular game, this base 20 to 50 people who like my videos for whatever reason. But then I get double that on just about any review. And, if I'm hitting popular games, I get more across the board, obviously. But there's this sort of, there certainly seems to be more desire for seeing the reviews. Now, I don't know if that's people who think, oh, I'm going to get a real game review out of this when they see that. Like, the first one that goes up is the intro, and maybe they think they're going to get an unboxing or a rules introduction or something. They're not going to from me, I'm sorry. They're going to get more of my babbling. But you'd think my numbers would drop off, and they haven't. They've kind of gone up. So somebody, either people aren't learning, or I'm hitting new audiences, or some people actually kind of like the intro and the review at the end. They actually provide a nice bookend in a sense, especially now. The intro is saying, oh wow, I like with Clash of Monarchs that I'm just doing, wow, I got no idea what the hell's going on with this game. And the final review is going to actually be fairly good, with the exception that the rules fail to convey what the game's feel is very well. You really have to play it to get it. Anyway, so there are a couple of people. Marco Wargamer is great for giving, what what the rules are of these, and he usually picks simpler war games that you can really get everything in one setting. But he stops the camera to show his point and comes back with a scripted discussion, and then does this wonderful timer, to explain where to jump to if you just want to get this, and that's fantastic. I can't be bothered with that much work. I don't think I ever have anything that clear that I really want to say. I mean, a lot of these games, either that I'm doing, either their rules are online, and you can look at the rules, you can look at the components, and you can make a lot of decisions without somebody talking about it on video. Although I think the video is helpful no matter what, and I turn to the video reviews very heavily, actually, towards, hey, that game looks like it may be something. I'm worried that it is, but I'm kind of interested in it. Let me just, kind of skim through this review and see what I see. And I don't feel like mine give that. I'm not sure what mine give, but that's not that. And then I like board games with Scott, except, well, really the same thing with Marco is, for the most part, they're not covering the games that I'm most interested in. But then again, nobody really is in general. I'll see a lot of Euros. Dice Tower does a lot more of a broad span of games, avoiding the war games entirely. Trying to remember the guy's name. Mr. Reef does some of the more modern CDGs, some of the heavier of the modern popular war games. Nobody seems to be doing the really monster war games, though, at all. I'm hoping to see more from Dr. Garfink on those, because I feel like he and I at least share a lot more of tastes. Especially, he's more into the real solitaire games, but he'll play game solitaire, and he started showing some non-solitaire games solitaire, which I think helps a lot. And all of these, well, with the exception of the Dice Tower, are almost completely without any flash. Now the Dice Towers, he's put some in more recently, and I find those more annoying. I skip the intro because what's that for? But I've seen ones where there's a couple of people with this black screen behind them, and they're doing animations behind it, and doing almost a stand-up routine. And wow, that's all exciting and everything, and you're great entertainers, but I mean, I want to hear about the games, you know? Same thing with the news. I want to hear the news. I don't want to hear your little jokes and quips with, you know, whatever weird-sounding name the weatherman has. Oh, and I don't want him shouting, hello, someplace, you know. You got a tornado, ha-ha! You know, I mean, look, just present the information. And it's fine to have the little human moments. If it works well to have two people doing a review together, that's great. If you can script your review and get what you want said out of it perfectly, hey, that's fantastic. I mean, that's got to be tremendously helpful. I know when I go into a meeting, if I don't have an agenda at least, I'm just kind of out there at random like I am in these discussions. I try with this little sucker to come up with an agenda, but it's very difficult for me to look at this. So if I'm in a meeting, I can look, other people are talking or whatever, prepare my next point, have it in my head, and then come out. But I'm on my own here, you know? So I would have to have a script, basically, and read it to you. And that would be horrible. Or I could memorize one. And I think that's what some of the people do, and wow, that's a lot of work. I'm sorry, I don't put that much work into anything. So, yeah, I mean, I can see where mine are not terribly valuable to people because I'm just out there flying around, flittering about. But on the other hand, at least to me, and I'm not saying mine would be useful to me, I think mine would be horrible to me, because they're not telling me what I need to know. They don't say, here's X, here's Y, here's Z, here's why you like the game, or here's why I like the game. It just doesn't. Mine were never intended to be reviews. Mine were intended to be action reports. I wanted to show what's happening. And if I run across something that strikes me, and usually that's something to grouse about, I do. And every now and then, like with the OCS rules, I come across something that I say, damn, that's just so beautiful, you know. That proved to me that I'm not really the idiot that this makes me feel like, you know, I mean, or High Frontier made me feel like. I know I have trouble concentrating, I know I have problems with certain things, but you know, after I read a rule book, I should at least be able to page through it and find the things I need when I need them, and I should be able to think where they would be. They shouldn't just not be there even when I do a search in the PDF of the living rules, and they're just not there anymore. You know, there's no indication of what I expect to be there. So anyway, this started out as one thing, I don't know what it ended up as. Constant random babbling as usual by me. By the way, I may not get this guy up. I'm not sure when I'm going to, but it looks fantastic. I think I had a hell of a find on this one. It's plotted movement, multiplayer, or 4-player game. I don't know how ready I am for that, but you get a chance to pick that thing up, go ahead. I'd say it's probably, there's not a lot to it component-wise, so just keep your eye out. I was so thrilled when I saw it and said, ooh, that's only, $5 or something. All right, cheers.